Virtual meeting statement. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 18, the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. Thus, the meeting of the Hubbardston Board of Health will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and other general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at www.hubbardstonma.us. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we'll post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible.
Okay.
Thank you, Melanie.
And do we have members of the public or anything that would require us to reorder our agenda?
We have, it looks like one member of the public. Karen, did you want to speak? Promoter. And then we have Lori, the town clerk, who's here for candidates tonight, if we have any questions. Karen, can you hear us?
Karen Jackson, are you available?
No, it's not coming up.
Is there a universal mute button employed or something, Mallory?
I do not have a universal mute button on, so.
I cannot unmute, she says.
Yeah, let's see.
Karen, in the lower left-hand corner, is there a microphone that you can click on? Because you guys are all capable of doing it yourselves. If you're, and I promoted her to a panelist, so she should be able to.
Let me see something.
I don't think I can do anything but ask her to unmute. I don't know if that's going to give her a button to try, but I'll try it. Because you can mute yourself, Kate, right? And unmute it. She has the same authority right now as any of us have. So
Right. What happens if you change to an attendee?
attendees can't do anything except raise hands and chat.
Okay.
She's gonna log into another device.
Okay.
So I guess we can move forward.
Move forward up with the minutes, and then when Karen rejoins, we'll try to jump over to Karen.
Sure.
All right.
So I only had one set of minutes I was able to complete for 323. Got the 4-9 half done, and then marijuana took over my week. So
Excellent. I've reviewed the minutes. I didn't see anything that needed changes. I'm not sure if anybody else had a chance to review or if they'd like to take a minute. Ben and Colleen, did you have a chance to review the minutes, or?
I have not had a chance, no.
Okay.
Yes, I did review those minutes, and I didn't say anything as far as I can remember, because they were back in March, but
you know.
that's all right. No, I read through them though, and there was nothing odd in them. So I was all set with that.
Do you want to postpone until next meeting?
No.
No.
Ben, are you reading them, or?
I am not. I can't
Oh.
do both at the same time here. I can either be in the meeting or be on my email, but not
Well,
both.
then. It looks like we're going to have to postpone them.
All right. So then Lori's all set for candidates night. She's cooking, so I can kind of start. So we have the upcoming election. And we have 2 contested races this time around for the, oh, are you on? You want to take over, Lori? You can. She's taking over.
I
see her.
hate this laptop. The camera's down here and it makes me.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, how's it going?
Okay.
So the election is June 8th, and we do have quite a few openings on the board, but there are 3 two contested races. There were going to be three of them, but somebody did drop out. So we have the Board of Selectmen has a contested race, and so does the Planning Board. So in the past, we've done Candidates Night. It was kind of hosted by the Senior Center. Last year, we did it a little bit different. We still wanted people to see the candidates. There were no contested races last year. But what we did was we kind of did like, I believe, a question and answer, and we had them read it. So we're just kind of looking to see if you guys approve a Candidates Night, what your thoughts are. I mean, I definitely think that it's a great idea to have it, but it's a matter of how you want to have it.
What are the options in terms of how?
Well, so that would be up to, you know, if we had one in person, if we kind of had a hybrid and we did something like this, the only concern is sometimes people have trouble getting on, and we want to make sure that if somebody's running, that they're understandable, you know, people can ask questions. So again, you know, that would be the only issue with this. If we did a video, it's very limited, you know, you're only limited to certain questions or more kind of like a tell about, where if people want to know where somebody stands on maybe certain things, that's, you know, kind of hard to anticipate what people are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we, you know, maybe do a candidates night in person, but, you know, we could get a feel of like an RSVP, or maybe we do kind of like a hybrid, you know, option, which I'm actually working again with the cable committee on trying to set up better options until we're fully open for hybrid meetings. We did our one hybrid meeting or a couple so far, and they seem to be kind of having a few little issues here and there. So
When are you
Gotcha.
planning that, Lori?
so I mean, the election is June 8th, so usually we try to do it a little bit prior. That's why I'm trying to meet with you guys now. The election warrant was posted today along with the town meeting warrant. So if we're looking at June 8th, that weekend is Memorial Day. So I mean, kind of our option is going to be next week or the week after, early week. I probably wouldn't want to go any later than, I would say, the 26th of May, which is Wednesday.
Yep. And where are you thinking of hosting it if you do an in-person?
So we've done it a couple times. We've done it in the senior center. We've also done it in the Slade building. Senior center has more room the way that it's laid out. I mean, we could always set it up, but again, it depends how many people, you know, are looking to come. So if we can get it worked out with bugs of doing kind of like a hybrid meeting and have only the candidates there, but have, you know, a live stream feed in there for people to view, that might be a good option.
Yeah, and then have somebody as a moderator on the Zoom for questions, and you know.
Yeah.
I think the hybrid would probably work out pretty well.
Okay.
Anybody?
I said, at
anyone
least
else?
that way people would be, the candidates would be there. Hopefully, like I said, with people, their connections would be good. But like I said, at least with the candidates being there, we could get the questions. And if it was videotaped, you know, obviously people could look back and see.
Can you give an option for people to submit questions early? So they feel like they're
That's what I'm wondering, is maybe we do, you know, kind of like the EDC. I know a couple of us were on there from here. I believe just you and Mallory and Kathy were on that. So, you know, maybe it's a matter of, right, these are the people that are running. You know, this is kind of, you know, a little bit of a biography about them, you know, short kind of like paragraph. Maybe we ask them to write that, you know, what, you know, basically like, you know, who they are, what their intentions are, why they're running, you know, a very general kind of thing. And then we could filter through some questions for each, you know, maybe like planning board questions and board of selectmen questions. I would still invite all of the candidates, even the ones that aren't contested, if they want to, you know, but like I said, there's quite a few openings that people haven't decided to run for. So right now you guys have 2 Board of Health openings and nobody pulled papers for them. It's the same with the housing authority in town, doesn't have any papers pulled on it. The school committee doesn't have anybody pulling papers, and they have 2 openings. You know, so we want to kind of address those as well, not for people to talk, but just to let people know that those are out there.
I guess if people can submit early too, then they don't feel like they need to come in person. So it might
Right. And we could maybe
thin out the audience a bit.
dwindle them down.
Cool.
So I guess what I'll do is I'll work with the cable committee, see if we can get a better, like I said, feed in there for the hybrid meetings. And then if for some reason we can't, then, you know, I could always come back and discuss it or let you guys know. I mean, if it came down to it, would you guys be opposed to a small meeting in person with a certain amount of limit? I mean, it's just hard right now, obviously, to judge the weather.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as you stay within the guideline for a public gathering, I think it would be
Okay.
fine if there's enough
Okay.
space.
Okay, so we'll, like I said, we're gonna try to do it the other way. We'll try to do it hybrid. You know, but I think if all else fails, you know, we just kind of want a backup option, you know, just to cover ourselves just in case.
Mhm. Yeah, I think
I've seen a lot of people at candidates nights, but the Slade building does put people fairly close.
Yeah.
Well,
proximity.
right, and that's why I was looking at the senior center, but the other option is we open both sides, you know what I mean? Whereas if we have it as kind of an overflow, like it's happened, you know, I know we had a meeting one time, I don't remember if it was a public hearing or what it was, but you know, we had a TV on in the senior center, we had the TV on in there so people could kind of hear, and if they had questions, you know, and stuff like that.
And maybe you could also consider the center school cafeteria. That's the largest.
So the
one.
problem with doing that is every time we go in there, I mean, they have kids in there every day, all day. So you're talking about, you know, bringing public in, and then it costs them extra for sanitization. They have to move all the chairs. All of their chairs are marked. They're all on grids. So I would rather do a hybrid versus going to the school, just for, you know, for them. I don't think that's fair. We're already kind of doing that to them twice with town meeting and town election. I feel like, you know, asking them for that might be a lot.
Okay. Are you talking about the gymnasium or the cafeteria?
The gymnasium, but the cafeteria, I believe, is set up the same way.
Set up in-
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the candidates night I went to 3 years ago had like maybe 16 or 18 people.
Yeah,
Total.
yours was in the Slade building, right? When you went
Mhm.
yours.
It was. And, you know, as long as people are following guidelines, wearing masks, if they can't be socially distant, et cetera, I don't see an issue with it. I don't know if anybody else on the board has an opinion.
Well,
I don't
that'll
see
work.
it as a problem either.
Okay. Like I said, I'll work with the cable committee. I'm waiting to hear back from Brittany. I'm going to try to set up a cable committee meeting for next week. Just because in order to do like a good version of a hybrid option, you know, she says that we would need a little bit of, you know, just like a laptop and some different cables and stuff for different feeds to go in, you know, for people. So we just want to see if the cable committee is on board with spending the money out of that fund, because essentially that's what their fund is for. So like I said, we'll be in contact. I'll be in contact with them tomorrow and I'll know more. So like I said, our first shot will be the hybrid option. And then the second option will be in person with, you know, obviously guidelines and numbers in place.
Very good.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you, Laurie.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks for the update.
Hi, Lori.
So Karen hasn't logged back in, so we can keep going down. So for as far as the town goes, our COVID numbers are on the downward slope again. We have had one cluster of a household that's been kind of keeping the numbers up, but they're starting to fall off right now. So I don't know where the trend is leading, but our numbers are lower than last week.
Gotcha. And any other updates for COVID?
No, we're still, I know the selectmen are pushing to open up for meetings as soon as possible. They did their first hybrid last night. So I'm just kind of waiting to see how that went with the YouTube video. I haven't heard any feedback or anything like that. I know Lori said there were some issues with audio and stuff. So we're just trying to figure out how to make.
Now, there's new guidelines coming out this Friday, and then there's reopening to the next step on May 29th, and then anticipating full reopening in August. The timeline for the vaccine for the kids 12 to 15 It'll probably be at least a week away, despite what the media is saying, because there's still some approval steps that need to go through.
Mhm.
So the AICP will meet tomorrow morning, the CDC will meet tomorrow afternoon. There's a pediatric toolkit and guidelines that need to be put together. And then it all needs to be published in something called an MMWR, which is super boring. It's only for nerds. It's all statistics. So anyway, so there's a few steps left, despite what the media is saying, but it looks promising. I do know Rutland. I just sent off an email trying to get their plans, because I know they have space in next week's clinics. So if they wanted to, they could probably start taking in 12 to 15 as early as next week.
Judy,
The other thing is Bonnie Tech is also planning a clinic for 16 to 18 next on the 20th. What?
are
Somebody-
kids, are kids getting the same reactions from the shot that adults were?
Yeah, that's so far, that's been pretty much it. And it's going to be the Pfizer. Pfizer has got the least number of issues for side effects.
Great.
So we're not anticipating any more than like 12 to 18 hours of maybe some body aches, a headache, maybe some fatigue, and beyond that.
Awesome.
Are there any numbers from the state yet, Judy, on the percentage of population vaccinated by town or by county?
The last time I saw that,
Yeah, the last time I looked was on the 27th. I didn't look this week, but I have them right here. Which town you want to know?
I was curious about our town to see if, if we should do any kind of outreach to get the numbers pushed higher, because, I know there's resistance, and I don't know
Yeah.
how resistant we are in our town.
46%.
Wow.
So we need to get up to 70.
Yeah.
In order to really say that, we're covered, we're protected from the virus. And that's always been a problem, even for the flu vaccine. And the flu vaccine is 40 to 50% if you're lucky.
Mhm.
Usually it's down around 35 to 40. So, I mean, people need to understand that these vaccines are out there and they're helpful. Even if you get a breakthrough illness. I just talked to somebody, that was one of the reasons why I was late, is because he had a breakthrough illness after he got the Johnson & Johnson. His symptoms were, he lost the sense of smell. That's it.
Mhm.
It was the only one. That's why he knew he had it.
Yep.
So the vaccines will protect you, and even if you have a breakthrough illness, it's going to be super mild.
Right.
Judy,
So-
that
go
percentage
ahead.
that we got, is that age eligible, or was that the entire community?
Or what?
The 46%, was that of age eligible patients or residents, or was that for the whole community?
Adult for the whole community.
Okay.
Yeah. So to that end, I don't know. So the election's coming up on the 8th, and Kathy, I'm assuming, and you tell me during the election, typically, or during the town meeting, don't we have to stand up and say stuff about the board like we did last time? Maybe
Yeah.
that's something that wants to be addressed by the board. A plea for people to get vaccinated.
What if we make a flyer that we hand out with the website's information for Rutland?
Right.
to
And maybe
hand
some
everyone
positive underscores of why you should get vaccinated in the low risk,
Yeah, why not?
The
We have
state
some-
has put out some resource material. I've glanced at it. I really haven't looked at it. I have a couple of doctors who are looking at it, I have a pediatrician who's looking at it all. Because one of the things the state said, oh, we'll just have the pediatricians do it. And the pediatricians are going, whoa, you know, we can handle a certain number of kids, but we can't handle the whole population.
Right.
So I do have a team of about 5 doctors, including an immunologist. Surprise, surprise, I'm delighted to have her on board. And we'll see what we can do to put together something for all the towns, including Hubbardston. But that's a good idea, putting together a fact sheet.
What if we were also there with one of our Chromebooks to register patients?
Wonderful, that's great.
I don't have my children on Tuesday night, so I would be more than happy to attend and just set up a little registration booth. As long as there's open clinics in Rutland, we can get them in.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, a lot of towns are doing, trying to get creative in doing that, showing up at grocery stores. Well, we'll get you registered, you know, showing up at other places. So
yeah,
Right.
I've seen
showing up in churches.
some towns doing like giveaways, like show up and get.
Right, yeah,
Know anybody with leftover Girl Scout cookies, Mallory?
right, yeah. That would be perfect.
No,
Or Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep.
Girl Scout cookies won't get beyond you.
All
That's
right,
funny.
I'll work with Lori and see what we can do, and then maybe we can advertise that, and we'll get a flyer put together, and I'll get it over to you for review, Judy.
Okay,
Cool. Good.
All right. Anything else on COVID?
No, ma'am.
All right. Failed systems.
So as requested, I reached out on 10 Main Street. They have hired Alan Crane to complete the project. He is going to be getting us an application for review. I did see some equipment being dropped off over there. I did let them know that while their loan was approved, there's still some Title V paperwork, loan paperwork that needs to be completed. If they are looking to move forward with the loan, they need to
That's good news.
Mallory, you cut out on loan.
with
Good night.
Alan. Did I lose you?
Yeah, right when you started talking about the loan process.
Okay. So I let Tula know that there is still some of the loan process that needs to take place before we can issue any payment. She needs to come in. It needs to be recorded. There's a document that needs to be completed by Lori, our treasurer collector, and the applicants. And then it needs to be applied to their betterment as a betterment. It needs to be recorded in the registry of deeds before we can issue payment. But they are moving forward within the next month.
Good news. Good.
Super.
All right. Pass failed Title V.
Sure. So we got, actually, I sent over, there's one on the agenda, but then I got 2 in last night or yesterday. All of these houses are going up for sale. They're all passing. There is 150 Old Westminster, 56 Dogwood North, and 6 Worcester Road. So they're all, everyone's jumping on the sell my house wagon. And this week I've had quite a few calls for people doing more of them.
Was there an open perk inspection on Hale Road that got completed this week?
A perk inspection?
Yeah.
Hill Road. I know Tim was out. I don't know which one he was out this morning. It could have been to Hale Road.
Yeah, I'm curious just because I drive by there and it was an open pit and they were seeming to wait to perk it and then they filled it in. So I was like, hope someone inspected that.
Yeah.
That's all.
I can't think of one off the top of my head for Hale Road that came in. But I know he was out doing one this morning.
Okay.
It could have been that one. Or it could have been just someone on their own doing a perk to see if it would even perk. It would even perk before calling it a professional. I don't know.
No.
No?
Berthium was there. Berthium's doing the installation of the system. The house is built. And they were digging they dug the well, built the house, and then they were digging the septic in the front.
I'll have to look at the records tomorrow.
What was that, Kathy?
Sorry, maybe they're doing the bed bottom is for the new construction on,
Yeah, perhaps.
So, and I have let all of our guys know that Tim just needs 24 hours before he can get out there. So,
Okay.
and there, everything's moving along great. He was in the office this morning, taking a look. The library is decommissioning the wall out front, so he has taken a look at that and signed off on that this morning. And he signed off on a certificate of completion for 12 Birches and for 174 Gardner Road as well.
Gotcha.
I noticed that on one of the Title V reports that was done last year, was it November dated?
Yeah, I did too. They just forgot to submit it. So it was completed and forgot to submit, but they have 2 years. The Title V, passing Title V is good for 2 years, so it's still valid. So I just had the homeowner submit it to us because we never got it from the installer.
They have 30 days to submit it, however, by state law.
They do to submit it to us, yes.
Yeah, and I just find it wrong that they're not complying with that. Now that's a 6-month-old system. And, you know,
No, it's an older system. It was a 6-month inspection.
right, 6 months since it's been inspected.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, luckily
The
for us,
reason
it
they
was
have the 30 days is so that it doesn't have any issues, you know, and it gets officially recorded. So I think we really need to stand fast on that 30 days. I don't understand what, you know, the submission 6 months is. That doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know how we can do it any other way except to request another Title V in timely fashion, but that's not fair to the homeowner when it's the installer or the inspector that has to submit it. I remember we discussed this at one time last year. Did we ever come up with any policy with that?
follow the code.
Yeah, what is
follow-
the repercussion as written in this, the general law? Are we aware of that, Mallory? Do we know what that
Not
is?
off the top of my head, no.
I didn't see any, as a matter of fact.
We can just write a letter like a first time. I don't see this guy as a habitual offender. I think it was like an honest mistake. They happen sometimes. And
Well,
it could have
we got
been,
into a rash of those last year, not
we did.
accusing
Yeah,
this
there was a
gentleman
rash
at
of
all.
them last year.
But, you know, it still needs to be done in a timely fashion.
Agreed. And we don't know too. It could have been he completed the Title V and they weren't even sure they were putting it up for sale, so they just held on to it and didn't. I don't know. There
Yeah,
could
but
be-
that's not part of the code.
Oh,
The
I
code
know,
says if
I
you do it, you gotta submit it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'll look it up, Kate, while we're.
Yeah, I was curious, so I started looking myself. I don't think there really is any recourse. I think we can
I don't think so either, but we can
write
see
a
what-
letter and say, stop doing that.
Yeah, hey, we noticed.
Well, I mean, we could set a policy for ourselves that it has
Yeah.
to be done within the time frame, or it has to be redone if it isn't done within the 30 days, or, you know, I don't want to be on,
If we do that, then at whose expense? Because we can't force the homeowner to repay that fee.
well,
And we force an installer to have to redo an expensive test, because I don't know how much a Title V runs, but
Title V can run some money, but it's not their responsibility. If their inspector is not on a timely fashion, then they've got a problem that should we go back to his burden. And, you know, that's just the way it goes. The homeowner then has got a complaint against this person and have it either done again, or we maybe could fine the installer or the inspector rather. So the first time it could result in a fine. But I just find it not good that 6 months later it gets submitted. And, you know, now we don't know what's happened in the last 6 months. I think timeliness is in the code for a reason, but you know, maybe we can think about it, talk about it again. That's my opinion on it. I just don't see any excuse for not being able to file that paperwork in 30 days. Pretty simple to do.
Right. Yeah. You know, I think coming up with a policy that says, you know, if we're given an installer the first time, maybe that's a, you know, a warning. The second time that ever happens, we fine them. The third time,
I'll accept it. Yeah.
the third time we fine them and consider pulling their license. Doesn't mean we have to do it, but maybe the threat of consideration would be enough to keep people honest, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, we can make as many policies as we want, but we have to enforce them. So
I know.
before, I mean, that's the thing is that if they know we have the policy, but we're not going to enforce it, then there's no incentive, you know?
Yep.
well, I think that
Unfortunately.
the simplest policy is that no Title V test will be accepted after 30 days expires. And that then puts, we're just not going to approve it. And if that gets sent that way, they won't close on a home and they won't have that approval submission by the Board of Health. So somebody's going to be accountable for it, and the homeowner at that point will probably be pretty upset at the inspector, and he may then have to come back and do it again. But it's as simple as that, or it's as complicated as penalties and everything else, which I don't think we'd ever get any compliance with. But anyways, that's,
well, maybe we'll have a better year this year since we're not dealing with COVID issues and stuff as much. I think that's one of the reasons we didn't really take action last year.
It says any system determined to be as a result of a voluntary assessment shall not be subject to the deadlines for completion of, and then it just glitches. I'll have to read it at work when I have the paper copy, Ven. But we'll have to come up with something. Maybe can reach out to other towns and Tim and see if he's ever run into it with Greenfield and the other towns that he works in. Instead of us trying to figure it out from
okay, yeah, ask him what he sees. That'd be fine.
yeah.
All right. What's next on the agenda? Let's see.
Skip's Jelly is a temporary vendor permit to approve. I guess on this as well, Katie came in last minute yesterday with her applications for the food vendors for the Hubbardston Fair, like she usually does. She put us together the same packet that she normally does. He's included in that, and his permit that he pulled was for that fair. So he's double applied, but only paid once. So we have his application twice. So her fair is on June 12th. She was afraid she wasn't going to make the, if we weren't going to have any other meetings or there was a meeting that had to be canceled for the elections or town meeting. So she wanted to get in right away. She didn't realize how fast time was coming up. So I sent them all over in one big book like we usually do. And I think what we do is we approve the fair and the vendors that are have applied, and then we do 1 day temporary permits, Kate, which we can have you sign via DocuSign. And they have to be displayed at their booth.
Yep. And we, in the past, Kathy and I have done kind of a run through
Right.
inspection the day of, just making sure everything is in order. The Skip's Jelly, does he have a permit in another town?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
multiple. He's
Okay.
his kitchen is permitted through Athol.
Okay.
And
Trying to
Tim
think.
is available for that date to do the inspections.
Okay.
Because you probably won't be on the board then, will you?
I will not be. Is this the official last meeting? Because
Well, we have
do we have a meeting on the books the week of May, whatever, 20 something?
the May 25th is the 4th Tuesday.
There you go.
Yeah, your emails, Mallory, indicated this is going to be our last meeting before the,
Yeah, I must have been thinking we were a week ahead. So
Yeah.
we have on our meeting on the 8th would be the election. So we would have to
Well, we have another meeting this month, don't we?
Right, on the 25th.
Yeah,
Right.
the 25th.
I was just thinking we were later into the meeting than, or the year than we were. Getting ahead.
Gotcha. Okay. So we're all in a, do we have an official vote or on the permits that need to be signed here? Do we need to?
You usually just vote to accept the vendors for the Hubbardston Fair as presented.
So we have Skip's Jelly, and then there was an attachment for Joey's Cannoli or whatever, and then all the other fair vendors, they all in one page.
You'll get a permit for each one. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
I only saw the 2 permits. The rest didn't come through. So someone else got to see them all in the attachment, then that's good.
Yeah, I got, if I look through there's an attachment for, it's super
Yeah, I
long,
couldn't get through all of them for some reason. Even after
for the Hub
she-
Fair, and they're all just attached. It's just a huge PDF.
Yeah, it was 24 pages.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
want
I
me to
thought-
run through the names, Kathy?
Yeah, just someone else make the motion. I'm all for it.
Okay.
I just couldn't look at it. That's all.
Okay. Everyone had their serve safe. Any of the kitchens that were residential included their permit from their city or town.
Well, I'll move to approve the applications for the fair permits.
And I'll second it.
Right. All in favor by roll call? Colleen?
Yes. I looked at them all. I did get them, so
Yeah, I
I'm
did
fine with
too.
it.
Judy?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right. Vin?
Yes,
Kathy?
Yes.
And Kate is a yes. Motion passes. And I have about a dozen documents open. Hold on. Okay. Trying to scroll back to the agenda. Okay. So if you send those over, I'll DocuSign them and we can move on from there. And where are we now? All right, there we go. Plans and review, Mount Jefferson Road,
Yep.
Ridgecrest.
Yes, we have a new house going in on Mount Jefferson Road, Ridgecrest, which is Ted Olson. We've also received a plan for a Habitat for Humanity house that's going to be going up on Ragged Hill. Just waiting for a couple more documents before that can be approved or even reviewed. So, but that one's coming forward.
Okay. And those are being reviewed by who?
I haven't passed them on yet.
No, not passed
They
on yet.
just
Okay.
came in, so I was waiting.
Gotcha. All right, new business?
Yeah, so I guess we are back at Tim Newton and
Yep.
then Speaker and the Title V. So I know you spoke with Matt Kate, so if you want to take over, you can.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with Matt just because I wanted to find out. Well, first, the last meeting was weird and choppy, and we had somebody, trying to join from the public and, make a complaint, but didn't make a complaint, and we don't know the details of it. We still don't know the details of it. And Kathy and Judy, before, as you had attended earlier, as you were a little bit late, Karen Jackson had joined but couldn't speak and said she was going to join on another device. She hasn't yet. So if she does join at any point during the meeting, we'll hear her speak. But until then, we can't really entertain it because we don't know what the context of the complaint really is. But I've re-reviewed Tim's certifications. I talked to Matt about, how he felt about the whole situation. And he was actually very funny. He was like, I want to retire by January of 2021. I think someone else taking it over is a good idea. And the $3,000 that I make from the town is more of a pain in the butt than it's worth in terms of tax forms, which made me laugh. But it's the same answer he gave us 2 years ago when we were trying to work with a different inspector. That didn't work out. Matt wasn't really clear on why we had invited him to the last meeting. So he was like, all he's heard of Tim was this complaint or this, that we got half of the information on. So I had a discussion with him about Tim's credentials and kind of what his background is. And Matt offered to do a transition with Tim so that, any knowledge he has of the town or people or installers, he can pass on. I also asked about, 'cause Mallory, you had brought up that there is some aspect of the engineering role that can only be done by an engineer.
Yeah.
Matt doesn't think that's the case.
Oh, okay, even better.
He-
Tim
He
was
actually, he said based on the certifications that Tim presents with, that there's really nothing that he does for the town that couldn't be done by a certified state inspector.
awesome. He
Um,
was concerned about local upgrade approval.
Right. So if Tim is concerned about that, or if that's a limitation of his certifications that I'm not aware of, Matt's not aware of, we should
Mhm.
research that.
Definitely. I'll put
At
that
some,
for tomorrow.
Matt's happy to still do those things if that's the case until
Okay.
he's ready to retire. But at that time, we're going to have to find a different engineer, or maybe at that point, Tim's certifications will be at a level where that's not necessary. I don't know.
Tim is going for his registered sanitarian, which is like the end all be all in the septic world, and he should have that within the next 6 months. So
Right. So I think it's an interesting thing. I also asked for a meeting between Matt and Tim, whether that's virtual or, whatever they're comfortable with, to kind of do that transition and just meet in person. And Matt was like, yeah, that's probably a good way to handle it. And then I did talk to Tim only because after the last meeting, subsequent to this kind of complaint that we got half of the information on, we haven't really heard. There were also other weird things that happened. Like there were a few people that were calling Tim late at night and hanging up. And he was like, is this all related? Am I being hazed? Like, what's happening with Hubbardston? And why are these people like freaking out on me? He eventually got a phone call at like 10 o'clock at night from the folks at 10 Main Street. And I explained that they work at a pizza restaurant. 10 o'clock at night is their like after dinner, after hours, dinner time, right? So it probably wasn't personal. They just probably weren't thinking that, it was a really late call. And I said, also, just don't answer the phone, right?
that's
But
what I told him.
yeah,
You could always call me and I'd cross-reference a number from our files.
yeah, he was a little bit like, why are people calling me and hanging up? I'm like, I have no idea. But I talked to Tim and I said, he has my faith. I think he has the certifications. I would like to see a full-time inspector working with the board, because I know for a fact that things in the past have gotten inspected with a handshake and well, I know you, so I know it's good, or a board member doing an inspection they're not qualified to do. Things getting passed that shouldn't have been passed. And that's across the board, and it's just a factor. It's a factor of the fact that we're not experts. And if we have any expertise, that means every member of the board has to be trained, certified, take food safety classes, and have that expense and have that commitment to do that. So, my proposal is that we accept him as our inspector for all purposes and move forward with that as a plan. If it's not working out in 6 months, I'm off the board. You guys can change it.
Well, I support what you just said about having Tim.
Yeah, and I just want to say too is that I've gotten nothing but positive feedback from him, even from the facilities that he's gone to inspect where he's like written up violations. Everyone has been head over heels, just happy with the process and how he's working out. I know our installers are thrilled with the accessibility, and his schedule is pretty lenient, so he's available. So I've just heard nothing but praise from multiple people, just on my end. And he's super helpful if I ever have questions, or if I'm questioning procedure, like the decommissioning of the well at the library. I've never dealt with that before, and he took the time to come down and walk me through all of it, which is great.
Yeah, I found him to be professional and helpful. Colleen, Judy, Ben, anything to add? Any other discussion?
The only thing I would do is reiterate what I said the last time. If there's a complaint, it needs to come through and from a written letter, and then we will discuss it in executive session, because that's the way it should be handled.
Correct. And I never got any emails or anything in writing.
Then the subject is closed until she submits a letter.
Correct.
Ben, were you going to say something?
No, that's fine. I'm good with everything that's transpired. I just didn't like the idea of not having any input from Matt after all his years of service to the town. And he expressed to me also that his termination, not his termination, but he was hoping to retire in January. And that's fine. And if that's his own choice, that's wonderful. But just to have it come as such an abrupt decision like that, made me uncomfortable. So that was why I was thinking about it last month.
Yeah, understood. I mean, you weren't on the board 2 years ago when we broached this topic with Matt then, and he was like, yeah, if you start cutting back what I'm doing, that's fine. His funniest thing was he was like, do you know how many forms I have to fill out? He was just like, I have to fill out so many forms. And he's like, when I was young, the extra $3,000 was nice. He goes, now I don't care. And he had me cracking up. I think we talked for about half an hour, but it
Can't
was
wait to
very
get to
funny.
that point in my life.
Right. And Colleen, anything to add?
No, I'm all set so far.
All right. So I will, and I know we'd have a discussion about this, but on a smaller board, boards of less than 12, chairs can actually make motions. The only time a motion it's frowned upon is boards of over 12 people, because the board is supposed to be impartial to all 12 or more people. On a small board of 5 people or less, it's acceptable. So that being said, I'll make a motion that we move Tim into the role of inspector for the Board of Health in general.
I'd second that.
All right. All in favor from the top, Ben,
Fine.
Colleen,
Yes.
Judy,
Yep.
Kathy,
Yes.
and Kate is a yes. All right, the motion passes. All right, what's next? Back to the agenda.
Permit fees.
Permit fees. So we have a grid.
Yeah, I tried to put together just from our list of fees, what we charge now, a comparison, so we can start taking a look at them. I also think that we need to take a look at, I just lost my train of thought. So yeah, I put together kind of a comparison from surrounding communities, just so we can kind of start to take a look at where we are and how we want to move forward. We're also going to have to do this if we ever decide to reopen with the recycling center. But
Yep.
I just started with our permits now.
Gotcha. Our food establishment fee is super high relative to the towns, huh?
It is because we charge for the permit, and then we're the only town that charges separately for each inspection. So I think that was because at one point our board members were getting paid to do the inspections. But now that we don't have, now that we have an inspector, part of the fee that we charge is to cover those inspections. If that's why we charge a fee, is to cover his time to do the inspections.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we need to take a look at charging for those extra inspections of $80 a piece or whatnot.
So what's the cost for the inspection for a food establishment?
Hold on, I'm getting into my spreadsheet. I thought I had it open, but I did not.
So it's $365 on the sheet, but
so
my
it's
question-
$80 per inspection.
Right.
So it would be 160 minus 365, or 365.
It's $160 out of pocket for the inspections to happen.
Yeah.
We collect $365, so the difference is what goes to the general fund, right?
Well, we do right now. We do 80-20 split
Right. Well, to the funds.
to the funds.
To the funds.
Where's
It's
the-
interesting.
I didn't realize they came in upside down.
So
for some
that
of them.
puts the actual fee at $205, which is still higher than any of the surrounding towns.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's the main one I think we should decrease.
Yeah, I find it interesting. I also think for the perk and the perk repairs, I think we're lower. across the board.
Mm.
Right. So
Think-
I'd like to suggest that we reduce the food establishment fee by $55. That would make it $150 for the fee, plus then you would add to inspections.
More.
What was that, Mallory?
I, I think it knows as soon as I start to talk. A lot of towns are doing their food establishment permit to encompass all of the milk, dairy, and frozen desserts. So they're not paying for separate permits on top of the food establishment one. They're just paying for that food establishment. I don't know if that was the idea when we created that for that permit fee.
Don't know.
No.
Well, I think, well, it's interesting, right? Like, I think having a temporary food establishment or mobile, just ice cream, milk, I think it keeps it affordable if that's the only thing somebody is doing.
Right.
And I do agree with Kathy to lower the food establishment so that it's, it includes the cost for the inspections, but is, more reasonable. I think it makes sense.
So that new number would be 310. It's a reduction of $55. That includes the 2 annual inspections. And then the new construction perks, I definitely think we need to go up to at least 250 on those. So I would suggest we go from 205 to 250 on the new perk constructions. The other, and then perk repairs, I do think we need to go up a little bit higher because the amount of time the inspector spends on going back. So I think that should be 200 at the very least.
And for additional inspections and Title V reviews, which we don't charge for today.
I was talking to an inspector who said that we're probably the only town that doesn't charge him a review fee.
Right. So new perk new construction, 250, perk repairs, 200, Title V's, 75 for the reviews. The food establishment, 310, of which that includes 2 inspections. That's in that fee.
Right. And the additional inspections for new construction, do you think there should be a charge for that? If there's an additional, it costs the board money if there is one, correct?
An additional inspection?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to be charged for Tim's time now, so.
Oh, yes. Additional inspections. Thank you. I missed that one. He's getting how much for those? Well, it looks like at the minimum, it should be 75.
I agree.
I'm just reviewing below.
While we have this pause, I would then look at these Title V inspection reviews as the opportunity to perhaps address the timeliness of the inspections. If we're going to charge $75 for a review, we could make it subject to an additional fee if it's turned in late, which might deter a bit of tardiness. I'm sorry, I'm not a teacher anymore. I should never use the word tardy. That's, adults should not use that word if they're late. So maybe we could go with Title V inspection review, $75 after the 30-day period, and increase that fee. And that would reduce the chance of it coming in late. Make it 150 after 30 days.
Kathy, Judy, Colleen, any discussion on that? I'm in favor of it, but
I think that's okay. Yes, let's do it while we're making changes.
I'm fine with it.
all right. Kathy, do you want to maybe put that into like one cohesive statement?
Yeah, I'm writing it down so I can say it all at once.
I think we have to have a public hearing too before we can
I know.
put these into effect. Just so everyone knows.
Now, did you say a public hearing is necessary for increasing fees? Is that what I
I'm
heard?
not 100% sure, but I believe so. We have to allow public input.
Okay, so I did I get it all? Okay, so I guess I'm gonna make a motion that we adjust the fees. And then after that, we can set up a public hearing about it at the, maybe by the next meeting.
We
The-
won't have time.
Okay,
No, we never have a public meeting in 2 weeks, no.
all right, so my motion is that we adjust our fees on the perk new construction to 250. Perk repairs, raise the fee to 200. Additional inspection fee to $75. Title V review to $75. If not received till after 30 days, a second $75 fee will be charged. Food establishments fee will be reduced to $310. I don't think there's any additional ones. Did I miss anything? I don't think so.
I think that's what
So
I heard.
that's the motion.
And we do have to hold a public hearing.
Right.
So, and it has to be publicized for 2 weeks.
Yep.
The last notice being 7 days before. So we were looking into June then. I don't know what we want to do for our June 8th meeting, or if we just want to hold it on the 4th, the 22nd.
Can't have a meeting on a day you vote,
No, we can't have a meeting then
so it would have to be after the June 8th,
on the 22nd.
right?
Okay. That
All right.
works.
And just as a point of information, Mallory, the 14 days actually is 15 days when you
Right.
the way it's done, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So effectively, is that motion tabled until the public hearing?
No, I think we can have the motion and then subject to the public hearing and the final vote after the hearing.
Right.
I
Final
just-
approval subject to the public hearing. On,
The vote after the public hearing.
right, vote after the public hearing, right.
I'm sorry, I'm visual. I'm going to have this in front of me on paper before I could.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We can write that up, and there's the document that Mallory provided with the amounts. I think we can just,
I can also make a new draft of our proposed fees.
right,
for
showing
you.
which ones are changing or something.
Yep, mark it with an asterisk and send it on.
Okay. we'll
Cool.
table my motion.
All right. Hey, at least we're making some headway on it. We've been talking about this for a long time. Mark Popham landfill closure agreement. So what do we have there?
So I reached out to Mark and I haven't gotten anything back as to what our next steps are. So Tim heard our talking about it during our last meeting and said that he could talk to Mark too when he's out. So we have his invoice that we voted to just table on paying until we have a timeline. So I kind of put it on the agenda in hopes that I would have an answer as to what our next steps are, what the timeline that we're looking at for reduced testing, but I haven't got anything back yet.
Okay. So we're going to have to roll that one forward, hopefully by the next meeting.
Kate, excuse me, were we able to find any documentation specifically in the form of a contract that we have to have this landfill inspection burden placed on the town? Did we ever come up with any of that documentation?
No.
No.
Other than the.
Lori have any? Could we ask Lori to look in the vault?
Gone through.
Hello? I lost you, Mal.
Yeah, it goes back to the 90s at least, and maybe even the late 80s.
Yeah.
Well, if
And
we
we
have an
always-
agreement with DCR, then they should have a copy of it. I mean, this, if it's a contract, it's a bilateral agreement. And both parties need to have the terms and conditions of that contract. And if it's not in writing, then I suggest that we meet with DCR and come up with an alternative to what we have now. After 30 years, I think the burden has been pretty much met by the town of Hubbardston. And at this point, it seems to be just a nuisance to continue with this.
Gee willikers, I questioned that before I got off the board the first time.
Yeah,
I thought it was a nuisance.
what can I say? You know, we got it, we have to look at it in the context of what is the legal responsibility that we have. And if we don't have anything in writing, perhaps we can negotiate some better terms and conditions for the town. Or just find out if it's continually to be necessary to have these
Right.
inspections.
Yeah, and I thought, so Kathy, can you refresh my memory on what we did last year to double up on inspections so that we could submit to the DEP and be relieved of this?
Right. So the 2 inspections were done within the time limit that they require. I thought Mark was submitting all of that to the state along with a note saying that we really wanted to decrease the frequency of the testing to once every 5 years. Because last year when I went with a state inspector to walk over the landfill, that's what they suggested we do.
Did both of them and we submitted them. So there is supposed to be another application for request for reduced testing.
Mhm.
And he was, I think, I don't remember if we actually went as far as signing a contract to say he was going to do that or not. But after this DEP accepted the 2 reports from him, then we were supposed to move forward with that separate application that had a long form name that I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, Mallory, if you have that long form, will you please email it to me and I'll make sure I get it filled out? 'Cause
Okay.
This really bugs me.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me
Well,
see if
I think we have a good handle on what we want to do with these inspections and what Mark Popham is doing for us. But what I was getting at is the original document that puts the burden onto the town, and that had to be arranged from DCR to the town, between DCR and the town.
There is a
Although we have
standard
DEP,
guideline, Vinny,
I'm sorry,
that there's a standard guideline for landfills that's a state policy, and that's what it's based on.
well, I don't deny that, and that's okay. However, and I
Right.
don't think we have to,
But the
ignore
time
them.
has come to where that even with that state policy, we can fill out the application and get it changed.
That's correct, Kathy. But what I'm saying to you is that DEP regulates those inspections. However, the reason Hubbardston is doing those inspections is because the land was given to the town for, not given, but let the town use it
Right.
as a landfill by DCR. And DCR owns the land. And under state law, whoever owns the land is responsible for all of these inspections and everything else.
I'm
Now,
sure that contract we're looking for is gonna put the responsibility on the towns, because there's no way DCR is gonna approve those $10,000 a year.
well, that's my
Well,
point,
And
Mallory.
if
If
they
we
were
have a-
responsible, all the years that we went without testing should have fallen back on them, but they required us to up the inspections to even
My
qualify.
point is, however, if there is no contract, then we need to work out some terms and conditions that are gonna be more beneficial to the town.
Right.
That's,
So why don't we move forward with the application, see if we can kind of go down that road, and then in the interim, we can reach out to, you know, I don't know, one of the directors at DCR and find out if there is such a document or a contract, and get their input on, you know, next steps. You know, if that way, if the application, you know, whatever, we missed a window or something, right? Some piece of red tape gets in our way, potentially we can be working another angle of it. I had asked Matt about the recycle center and his thoughts on that, and he said that Dan Clark from OCAM DCR is the regional director. He may have some ideas as to who would know about that contract or have some knowledge of it. I can reach out to him, and then I also wanted to talk to him about the recycle center, which we'll talk about on the agenda a little further down.
Yeah, so I'm looking through like just old emails, and I'm showing that back before I was involved, Kelly was working with Mark, and the form is called BPWSW-22 Draft Permit Modification Application. It was done in 2014, but was turned down and would logically follow the completion of the 2019 third-party sampling/party inspection. I would like to keep the two separate scopes authorizations. If DEP turns down the town's request, we can look into authorizing the same scope for the following year. I will try to hold down the line for the town on the laboratory expenses, which makes up a large part of this. So I don't even know if we're going to be able to do that form, Kathy, without additional lab testing, but I will try to track it down on my own and see what we can do. We can work together.
who wrote that email, Mallory, did you say?
Mark Popham,
When was that dated?
2018.
Right, but we had done what we did was we corrected the timeliness of the tests
Mm-hmm.
so that we could reapply.
Did you guys apply in 2018 too and then get denied again?
I don't think we actually applied in 2018
Okay.
because the tests didn't meet the requirements, and that would have been not a good thing to do.
Right. So subsequent to that, multiple tests were done in a shorter period of time to meet the requirement, so we could reapply. We just don't know if that reapplication happened.
Ever happens. Okay. All right. I'll see what I can find, and I will get the application and hopefully the information we have, we can work on it together, Kathy, and get it in for.
That sounds great.
Yeah, perfect. And then I will do some more searching and see if I can't find a contact at DCR who's in charge of landfill permitting.
That'd be fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Where are we? Open complaints, 111 Gardner Road on hold and 248 Gardner Road.
248 Gardner Road, the Board of Selectmen are still moving forward with. I've gotten actually a call from an abutter property who wanted to thank us for whatever we have done, because there are a noticeable change. Cars are leaving, trash is being removed. There is less revving of engines.
Hey, Mallory, we lost you at revving of engines. Does anybody else want to start
Man.
singing?
Oh, God.
Sorry, revving of engines. We lost you at.
Of course. So the revving of engines has stopped. And they said the neighborhood is a lot quieter right now. So they just want to thank us. And the Board of Selectmen is monitoring for continued progress. And if I think their next meeting is they're going to be discussing it again and to make sure that the progress is continuing. If not, then we'll hold another joint meeting.
Very good.
On
Anything else?
111 Gardner Road, I need a phone number of the owners so that we
Sure.
can give them a courtesy call. If you'll send me an email for that,
Yeah.
then Vin and I can get ourselves over there.
No worries.
We
I think
know.
I have it.
Even
I think I
if
have
we
it in
don't
an email
have
now.
to-
So I'll forward it over to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So I want to take it off hold and get something done in the next couple weeks if we can.
Okay. Do you need any inspection forms?
No, I have them.
Okay.
And I'll take photos as well.
Perfect.
Okay. Anything else on that? All right. Finance reports.
So I didn't have any bills come in. I just had the turnovers that I supplied.
What's the second one? Why is it crossed out? What's the?
Because I put a check number instead of the dollar amount of the actual check.
Oh, I see that. 25,434.
They weren't jiving when we were adding them up, and it took a second, but that's what I did. So instead of just retyping it all, because I'd already sent it over to the accountant and all that good stuff, we just crossed it out with my initials.
Got it. Okay.
That
I'm
makes
like, I
sense.
didn't have a $3,000 check. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's what that is.
Was it a Monday?
It was a Monday.
Ah, that's where your mistake was right there. Was trying to do anything
Showing up
mathematical on Monday.
It was a
Mhm.
Monday with marijuana, and so that reminds me. All right.
All right. Any other questions from the board on the finance reports?
Nope, they look good.
I had a question on the town warrant. It shows the Board of Health being reduced to $20,000. I don't have that in front of me, but is that the budget that we're going to be given is $20,000? How does that fit with everybody?
I don't know about reduced, but we are taking. I think what you saw was the fact that we voted to take over the landfill and the MPHN out of our own budget.
No, it's got a line item of $20,000 on the
Let me
warrant.
take a look. I'll pull it open right now.
Yeah, see, I don't have the ability to do that, but
Yep, no worries. Let's see. Actually, it's in my emails. Under Board of Health, you said?
yes, it's in the finance report under the town warrant,
Okay.
on the town.
Town warrant. Finance.
While she's looking for that, I'm gonna have to go shortly, so
Mhm.
I wanted to let you know that, Vinnie, on the recycling, you had sent out emails of some locations that will do those things. In the past, CYNN Sin Oil collected the waste oil and filters, and they were very reasonable.
Yeah, they did it last year too.
Ruthier took the tires, and the Resource Recovery, West Broadway and Gardner will take all the electronics, refrigerators, mattresses, and fluorescent tubes.
Yeah, we just have to deliver it to them.
Right. So, but their fees were very comparable. So the question is, do we really want to change who we use or continue using the companies we have in the past?
You want me to go into this report then about what I've done with this, you want to wait?
So I was hoping that maybe we could wait till the next meeting, if you don't mind, because I need
I
to
don't think
go.
so. I'd like to get things working this week, Kathy, quite frankly, because I've got an opportunity to get things done. In fact, cleaned up this
Okay.
week.
So are we okay to kind of go forward to that, folks? To
Sure.
jump to that
Well,
topic?
I did not catch who you said about the waste recycling, the waste oil. That
Thin
company, I don't
oil.
care. What's the name of it?
Thin oil. We have a permit through DEP with them, so we can't change that.
Sin
All right.
oil.
You'll have to send that to me because in the past, we've had, from my research, a company named Safety Clean who was supposed to come out and look it over for us, which the DPW also uses to collect waste oil. And I don't care who we use, but I don't have any reference to the names of the waste oil collectors. And in terms of the outfit in Gardner, the raw materials recycling, I visited that site up there. I spent time up there and I've called them 6 times with no luck. The last
Okay.
receipt I've seen at in fact, Colleen and I found the receipt this afternoon at the recycling center was from 2016. So I don't know how many times we've used them, but they're really not interested in doing business with us. I just don't get any callbacks.
Okay.
I've called them twice and gotten pickups on the first time, but maybe we should double check phone numbers.
No, I get the number. I spoke with Debbie, the owner, Debbie Pelican, and she just doesn't want to call me back. I leave the messages on her cell phone. And I've also spoken with the people at Harvey. You saw that perhaps email I sent today with the list of inventory that I drew up down at the recycling center. And I did take videos and pictures, but I forgot to attach them to the damn email, so I'll send that to them tonight. But they're not really interested in doing anything else except putting big dumpsters down there that we have to fill up and then they'll charge us for. But I called 4 different people from local small people and got one response today. Met the gentleman at the recycling center. His name is Jonathan Burnett out of Leicester, Brunette. And they came up and he looked it all over today. Like I said, he's the first response I've had. I showed him everything and he's given me estimates, prices on mattresses, and we have 60 of them, $30 a piece. TVs, he'll take for 40 a piece. Electronics for weight, and all the trash in the back trailers, it'll just be scale weight, whatever they take. They'll bring the trucks up, they'll load it, take it away and clean the whole place up this week. We want.
Did he give you an estimate, Vin? Because that's the estimates I got from 2 different people, both over $10,000. So if that's the case, if we're gonna go that route and not piece it out, we need to send this out for procurement.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the prices he gave me. If you do the math on these items, nothing comes up to $10,000. And he's going to be sending me these invoices this evening. And if we're going to do it, I think that rather than avoiding a bidding war and sending it out for, we can just piecemeal it out. Let somebody take the mattresses and let somebody take the electronics and everything else. But this was the only one I've got a reply from who sounds reasonable, and his estimates will come in tonight. But as far as I'm concerned, this is something that needs to be done fairly quickly. This place is a total mess down there.
Well, I'm very glad you got a response from that. What was the name of that place again?
Brunette Rubbish Recycling.
Okay.
Brunette Rubbish.
Without his paperwork, we can't make a motion and move forward on it tonight, Vinny.
Don't expect you to. I'm just telling you that we're
Yes.
at that point where we're going to have everything ready to go here pretty soon.
Perfect.
But I'm pretty much done calling everybody and trying to make these arrangements because, quite frankly, nobody really wants to do business with us. And I don't understand that, but I'm not terribly pleased with Republic Services that was just a total waste of my hour and a half trying to find somebody to talk with down there. And Harvey is kind of almost in the same, although they're very nice, lovely people. You know, they're not sending a representative out to give us what we want to know and how it's going to work. I now, after today, speaking with somebody from Bob's Tire in New Bedford, they'll come up and take all the tires for $5 a piece, load them all, take them away. There's a couple of big tires up there that charge more. It's just a standard fee. But the idea that I'm looking at is getting the company that's going to do the work as well as take the trash or the recycling. And everything has to be recycled. So they're just not going to dispose of all of this stuff.
Right.
And I think Colleen and I were there this afternoon going through everything again. And it just gets to be bigger and bigger every time you open another door down there.
Right.
And I would say that there's two main problems that we have that we need to figure out on the Board of Health is, number one, what are we going to do with the generator that we bought? And number two, what do we do with the $30,000, $4,000 electrical panel and setup that we installed down there? I think we need to figure out how that is going to factor into all of this as well. It's just a shame, but I don't see a lot of future for that recycling center.
Right. Well, I appreciate the work and what you guys have put together. I definitely think that the board needs to consider a regional option for recycling at this point. It's just, it's clear that the prices fluctuated enough and the process. So let's say we just get all of the prices aligned with current recycling prices and we're, even if we break even, within 6 months, that can all shift. It takes us a month and a half, 2 months to review something, have a public meeting, set the amounts for the fees. It's just not, the process of the board and the way that we function isn't really congruent with the recycling center, because that type of a business needs to be fluid enough to change their fees based on the market. I don't think we're quick enough in reaction. So I think it's a bad fit. I think that the best thing we could do for the town would be to look at a regional option if there are any that exist. I think reaching out to DCR and finding out what options exist through other centers may be an option. But I think we still, regardless, have to clean this particular center up. The mess that's there needs to be tackled. And then, a plan formed. But I like I just read your emails on my phone because I don't always check my personal email during the day. And I think that the research is solid. I think if for the oil, we may need to revisit the SIN oil because that is something that has to be like permitted through DEP. But everything else, I think we try to find the lowest cost option, go with that plan, and then vote on it at the next meeting if we can. But finding a regional option, I think, is going to be a longer term thing because I don't know what exists. I don't know what the paths are for that.
Well, let me make this suggestion and then turn the suggestion into the form of a motion that with Bob's Tire, who is out of New Bedford and probably the #1 Massachusetts tire recycler around, they'll on the call, they'll come in and they'll give us the $5 tire price and pick it up and it'll be gone. The waste oil, if we have a contract with that company, that's not a big deal. We just have to find it and get them in there. Safety Clean is a national outfit that if their price is in line, it doesn't matter to me. They're going to take it away. The
Vin.
What's
Sin
that?
oil comes at the end of the season. So they were there before Bella closed up. She had them there. So that should be pretty empty, the big container.
So they can come in are those containers theirs?
Those are empty containers that we have to dispose of. But the giant vat, volt, whatever you want to call it, that we pour the oil into,
Is that theirs?
that's ours.
We own that thing?
Yes.
Actually, 2 of them there.
Yeah, one's for antifreeze.
Well, and there's probably 6 or 7 or maybe 10 5-gallon, 10-gallon buckets full of some type of lubricant as well.
That
So-
somebody just dumped there. Jeez. Okay.
Either that or it was cooking oil or something that couldn't be poured into the waste oil, and there wasn't a specific container for it, so it was set aside, and they'll collect it when they come, which is more than likely the case.
Then we should just get them to come back and get it out of there.
Yeah,
Especially
I would agree.
those big vats, those are not gonna be helpful to us to keep them there.
That's true, but those big vats I don't know if they'd be helpful for the DPW. I don't know how much of their own maintenance for their own trucks they do, and if they, have a use for waste oil storage or something like that, it may be worth asking them.
Travis told me he has a contract with Safety Clean and they pick their stuff up. And
Okay.
I would be willing to bet these suppliers or the people that pick up the waste oil supply the vats for their, the collection items.
Yeah, we can find out, Mallory, if you could find the number for Sin Oil, maybe then that's something you can ask them. We can follow up with them.
Send me the information on them. I'll be happy to get a call to them.
Cool.
And then I lost my train of thought. So we got the tires. We have whose big container full of metal is that?
Ours.
That's
Like,
that's our scrap metal that we can
Kate
scrap.
and I found that whole thing at the one day we did with scrap from around the.
So that container, that roll-on container belongs to the town?
That's Templeton Salvages. They have 2 containers that are designated for Hubbardston. They drop one off when it's full and pick up the full one.
Can you send me their contact, Mallory? I'll get hold of them.
Sure.
'Cause that is one big trailer.
There's a
and
lot
they
of.
take it away and we get money for it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And metal prices are up right now.
Yeah, and there's also a whole big bag of copper that somebody gave us when Mallory and I were there.
Now that's still in that container. Saw that today. So this other thing that I meant to mention about all the white goods, that fellow I met there today, they'll take that for no charge. Refrigerators, dehumidifiers, stoves, anything else.
Even the stuff with the Freon.
Yep, they're taking everything.
Hey, free is good.
Yeah. And I found there's a man on social media who is asking, he runs a bike business out of Orange where he refurbishes bikes and puts them back out into the community. He was looking for people who had bikes for parts or that could be repaired. So I can reach out to him to see if he wants to pick up those bikes.
Mallory, why don't you just send me this information and let me coordinate this? We have a subcommittee here for that. So Colleen and I will do that. Just send that information over. And finally, what I'd like to do is put this into the form of a motion that if these prices that come in today from this brunette out of Leicester are going to be as competitive as I think they are, that the Board of Health gives us permission to commission the removal of this stuff, and we get this done. It'll be done by Friday if we want to do it
We
that
have to
way.
make sure we have the budget.
We have to have a budget because we've charged for those items that have come in. So those have to be on the books as some kind of plus. And I don't see where, even if with a budget, it's got to be done.
I
I
think we
don't,
need to review the invoice at a meeting though. We can't just approve it without seeing it, right?
Correct. So let's get the metal recycled so that some more money will come in to the recycling budget from Templeton. And then by the next meeting, we'll have your information, Vinny, and then we can get it done before the end of the month.
let's do
Okay?
it. Let's do it.
Cool. So we'll just need like a list of what we're doing and the cost for each thing, and then we can vote on it, and we should be good.
Yep. But go ahead and contact Templeton Metal Recycling, and I don't have a problem with them. If it's full, they'll be glad to take it now, because like I said, the metal prices gone up 3x in the last couple weeks.
Do we want to move forward with the stuff, the removal of all the refrigerator white-sided stuff for free?
I mean, if they're going to remove it for free, do we have to wait?
I don't,
They're not gonna remove it for free just to come up and take it. They're gonna remove it for free along with the
The
trip
other
they make
item.
to take everything else out of there. It's gonna be gone.
Yeah, so we have to wait for the,
Yeah.
gotcha,
that information, yeah.
gotcha. As part of their quote, that part of it will be free. I understand now. Okay.
And I'd like everybody to start thinking about the future of this place because if we're gonna be doing this, I think it's time to really consider or not whether this is going to be a recycling center that we want to operate. In my opinion, I think the best use of that area down there is to inform the town that they could move the fire department down there. They're looking for leases and requests for proposals for places to relocate the fire department. Let them put up a big steel building down there and run all the fire department right there. That's a great location for it all. And there's plenty of space.
Yeah, if it was deeded to the town, but we don't even know that, so.
Well, we have a deed involved in, that's not an issue. It's just a matter of they could just take it over. I don't even think we have a mandate to run a recycling center. I haven't seen any paperwork on that either. So, if we can't do it, we can't do it. And let's stop kidding ourselves. Let's just move on, and focus on something else.
I agree.
Thank you, Vinnie, and Colleen for doing all of that.
Well, we'll get something done, even if it's wrong.
And you
Hey
put
now,
that in,
I'm gonna be the one who's left behind cleaning it up with Kathy, Colleen, and Judy. Do it right, please.
can you put all that in a chart with explanations?
You should have had a copy of the email I sent to Harvey that gave most of that. And as soon as I get the proposals from that other man tonight, I'll be sending out another.
Yeah,
report on that.
and also where are we going to pull all this funding to clean it up?
Well, I suspect we have some receipts for all the stuff that's there. We didn't take all of that stuff in for nothing.
We have about $5,000 in the account. It's not gonna cover a full cleanup.
Okay.
Recycling revolving.
That's a recycling revolving account. That's what we talked about last time when our fees were so low.
Mhm.
Well, guys, I have to go, so thank you very
Okay.
much. For all
Take care,
your hard
Kathy.
work.
Thanks, Kathy. There's only one more item if we're
Night, Kathy.
done discussing recycle center, which is food inspections. There's a series of them open. I did actually do the snack shack, baseball snack shack inspection earlier this week, so I'll drop that off to you, Mallory.
Thank you.
I'll try to do that tomorrow.
I'll be
and-
there.
And then the other food inspections, Tim can pick back up on. And if he needs any help on them between now and election, I'm happy to help. But
Okay.
that's where we are.
I know he's planning on getting into the school within the next week, so.
Great.
Are we on to unexpected? Sorry.
We are.
All right, let me just jump ahead. Ben, I'm taking a look at the warrant right now. I was kind of going through it. So I'm seeing the $20,000 under the revolving accounts. Is that what you were talking about?
I think you said you see 20,000 under the revolving account. Is that what
Yes,
you
sir.
said? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
All
what
right.
I was talking about, right.
Okay, so
Is
that's
that a
the cap.
reduction from last year?
Nope, that's the cap. So that is what we can have in our revolving account. When you set up when you establish a revolving account, you
Right.
have to put a limit on how much is in there. So for our recycling account, it's $5,000, and for our septic revolving, which is what we pay our inspectors from, it's $20,000. So we are contracted not to go, or not contracted, but that's what we voted on when we established the fund, that there would be no more than $20,000 in that account, which right now there is not. And they have to vote on that every single year.
Mhm.
Right, that's fine. I thought it was reducing it to 20.
Oh yeah, no.
Nope.
The only thing that looks different on the town warrant for this year is that because they created a land use department instead of all the separate building, board of health, zoning, planning, having the $500 supplies, and me having to have a different account number for like 7 different department supplies. We just combined all the supplies into one supply account for land use with, I think, about $2,000 in it, which was a cumulative of what everyone's smaller accounts hold.
Gotcha.
Sweet. Deal. And then I have just one other item of unexpected business. Planning board approved the special permit for 56 Gardner Road, the old stove shop for an outdoor cultivation. It was brought up at the meeting about odor complaints falling under the Board of Health. So we are going to have to start looking at coming up with how we are going to handle those. Because after the planning board gets a specific amount of odor complaints, it will have an impact on the permit. So
When will we get those?
when people complain,
Yeah, if neighbors complain when the grow is active, and honestly, it should only be smelly for 6 weeks of the
No,
entire
no,
grow.
They said the permit was subject to odor control.
right, it can be rescinded. So if they get X amount of complaints, then they can look at rescinding the permit.
So they're gonna approve the permit with that caveat? Is that what?
Correct.
That's what it sounds like. I haven't seen an actual draft come through yet. But that's what they've.
There must be some data referencing the previous licensees throughout the state with odor control.
Well, they're doing quite a bit of extensive odor control, especially for the abutters. So
No, I don't mean that. I mean, what other facilities have been under the inspections of the odor control that we could get hold of so that we have some baseline and some reference for it?
it's the Board of Health code, the code that you guys enforce.
Yeah.
How about the chicken farm?
Right. So all that is nuisance, which falls under the sanitary code.
I mean, some days that place can get pretty bad around here. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah.
But it's only for a few, I mean, it's almost like white noise. And,
Right.
you get used to it, but it's there at least once a week. I don't know what they do there, but, is this place like the marijuana grow? Is that something that emanates like really far out, or is it going to be, I mean, are we going to smell it down by the rec field here, or is this just going to be something that's right in that area up there?
I wouldn't think you'd smell it that far away. It's going to be just like any other, when you have a hay farm and you have hay and it has a scent to it when they cut
Right.
the hay.
Yeah.
It's a small area. When the wind blows, it dissipates and it goes away.
So where that is, there's not a lot of residents up there. They're kind of,
Right.
I mean, you got High Street, but that's, you've
Far back, yeah.
Yeah, it's far. It's not like right next to it.
Right. I'd be
And-
surprised if we get a bunch of complaints, honestly. It's like I said,
We're gonna get any. We can probably farm them off to Tim because he's versed in the code that we have to.
Judy,
enforce.
were you trying to say something? I saw your mouth moving, but I didn't know if you're on mute. Okay. Yeah,
Just
I
a
mean,
green. I don't
yeah.
really see it. I mean, it's a farm for crying out
Yeah.
loud.
and honestly,
It's going to
it's like-
smell parts
Right.
of the year,
and it's like patchouli to me. Like some people hate the smell of patchouli, some people love it, some people hate the smell of pot, some people love it. I love it personally. So
What was your analogy to
patchouli,
patchouli?
What is
Yeah.
that?
it's
No,
it's
that's
a
the way-
flower. It smells like dirt.
It smells
And-
like a healthy store. Ugh.
It's like it smells like an earthy smell, and it's a flower, and they make an oil out of it, and people wear it like a perfume. But like frankincense, myrrh, patchouli, like it's an herb.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And
I got it.
ugh,
You don't just go out and grab a handful of dirt and save some money?
to me, it literally smells like somebody like what truffles smell like?
Truffles, yeah.
Those mushrooms. It kind of smells like truffles. It's like an earthy dirt smell to it, and I'm like, why do you want to smell like dirt? It just grosses me out. But marijuana, I love the smell of marijuana. Just saying. Anyway, I digress. Anything, you guys can't see my face because it's not lit up, but I'm laughing my butt off right now. All right. Anything else under unexpected subjects?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Anything else from the board?
I'm all set.
All right. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. All in favor? Aye, aye. Aye, aye.
Yes.